First off, I loved his quote on the salacious LeBron James, Stephen A. Smith tale, because it's more speaking to the larger point that's been made a lot with the NBA this year. And Adam Silver talking about it, saying, sometimes, here's the quote, sometimes it seems that in other sports that I'm a fan of, and when I watch the coverage, particularly around the games, it seems more celebratory often than it is with the NBA, and I accept it.
He's right about that. He won that 100% look, we do get on players in the NFL, but yes, it's more celebratory. And in the NBA, we're a lot more critical. I think a bunch of reasons. One, we enjoy the NFL more. We enjoy football more. Two, the NBA, with all this load management, puts us in a bad situation to begin with. We're in a bad mood to begin with because of all this load management out there. And three, it just feels, like they have a disconnect with the fans out there. That's why it seems like there's a lot of fighting going on with the NBA and the media.
Well, I mean, part of it is if the people that are on your broadcast continually tell you how poor everything is, right? It becomes reinforced, right? And it becomes the talking point that you go out, repetition of the product is bad. This team is bad. Yeah, but this style of play is bad. Becomes the echo chamber, and that's how people then perceive it.
What are we really missing, though? What all this, the NBA is bad. What are we missing? You're missing the mid-range jumper? Is that what you're maybe defense, but nobody ever complains about missing defense. What exactly are we missing that we're ripping on the NBA that say it's not a fun product to watch?
Well, I think some of it is the effort. Some of it is not necessarily missing but even effort on the court, right? You owe to defense to a degree, and that gets people, all prickly when you start talking about that, because trying to give, full effort, I understand it. 48 minutes a night or 38 or whatever you're playing in a night, right? You're going to take some possessions a little less than, and certainly intensity. I mean, hell, go back to everybody had been clamoring about the defense of the Lakers. Then you watch that absolute collapse against Chicago yesterday. I'm like, okay, this is now becoming a trend, right? You got a trend line over the few games where the defense hasn't been all that versus, that first juice.
We used to have NBA games in the 117, so there could have been good defense back then. And did we like the NBA when the scores were 72-70?
Well, but that's the thing, right? It's styles and tastes change, and who you're listening to. And this goes in all aspects, and I'm only taking this so far. So if you carry it over the line, you get whatever retribution comes from social media at Stinkin' Genius One. But you know what I'm saying? Like, folks are going to listen to some of the people they may agree with, right? The good old days, as I quoted Billy Joel earlier, is like, well, you know what? It's not like it was in the 80s. Whereas LeBron and others do everything they can to tell you how they'd run up and down the floor on these other players. And it goes back into, all right, if we're doing the time machine thing, do they get to come along into 2025 with all the technological advances, the ability to travel first class, the ability to sleep in a hyperbaric chamber, the ability to take whatever the hell supplements these guys are taking, the ability to go and train and not work a second job in the off season other than to film a commercial, and all of these other things.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't get it both ways. You don't get the body and everything you have in 2025 to transport you back to the 60s and 70s if it doesn't work the same way going back.
I 100%. Right? You're right about that. You're 100% right.
So all of a sudden, you're Steve Rogers, looking like the scrawny little kid that can't get stamped until Stanley Tucci says, "Hey, I got an idea."
Yeah.
Right, and Tommy Lee Jones is all grumpy and miserable, and then all of a sudden you get the super serum, and bam, we got ourselves the Captain America.
You're never going to win that argument. By the way, what do you think is...
Well, that's the beauty of it, right? Yeah, it's the LeBron and Michael Jordan argument. All it does is waste time, fill column inches, and that's part of what Silver had to say as well. It's like, well, I guess they're talking about us, so I guess that's a win.
I gotta ask, isn't it tiring for LeBron? First of all, you're one of the most recognizable people on this planet. You're worried about playing for the Lakers. You got your teammates. You got your family. You're worried about Bronny. Do you really have to worry about the press and Stephen A. Smith? I mean, people want to hear what you say about basketball in China. I mean, don't you have enough to worry about? It's got to be tiring to be guarded all the time. You know what I mean? It's got to be hard on him to have to worry about everything that comes out of his mouth.
Well, I'm going to steal from Spider-Man here. We're going to stay in the MCU. See,
Okay.
leaving no pop culture stone unturned here. With great power comes great responsibility. And if you want to declare yourself king, which he's done,
Right.
if you want to do that, that means everything you do is going to be scrutinized.
Right. I understand that.
It's the unfortunate part. You want to earn $1 billion as an entertainer, because at the end of the day, this is just an extension of Broadway and Hollywood, which is why I keep joking about the soap opera actor Stephen A. Smith, which he actually is.
Right.
He appears on General Hospital. So all of this is soap opera acting with his, low voice and all of that. And LeBron, when he was with McAfee, does he really just want to drop F-bombs all over? I've watched enough interviews. Sometimes, you do it for effect. Sometimes, like, hey, look, I'm with the kids. Look at me. I can be cool. So, if you buy into it and the more you pay attention and the rabbit ears are up, and you can't tell me that for the most popular and best players of each of their times, they didn't try to control things as best they could.
Oh,
right?
of course they did.
Jordan
but it was a
back
lot
in the
easier
day.
for them. Yeah,
right,
yeah.
but that's just it. It was a lot
Right.
easier then. And here, the hard part is, you've got all your hangers-on and sycophants that are going to tell you what everybody's doing. Do I think LeBron is, scrolling Twitter endlessly? I hope not.
Right.
But
right.
maybe he is. Maybe he's like everybody else. Who's talking about me?
I look for a guy that has it all, and I'm not saying he doesn't enjoy life. I'd like to see him be a little bit more happier. It doesn't seem like he's very happy during some times, and we are certainly unfair to him at times. I mean, what is it exactly he's done that really should, facilitate all the bad press and all the mean things being said about him? And, sure, if you want to keep it to basketball, that's one thing. But he catches a lot of grief out there. He really does.
Well, again, you're the number one guy. Every once in a while, he's had some statements that make you raise your eyebrows. We had the incident. Was there graffiti on his house or not? Folks went at that. Like there's
Right.
a bunch of incidents of, all right, what's true, what's imagined, what's myth building, and to some part of the audience, you're gonna fight back on that. Some of it is he draws eyebrows no matter what you say. So if everything's going this direction, what's the normal move? Well, we're going to go over here because that's going to get you attention as well, right? So I think a lot of it is just WWE kayfabe, as we've talked about a lot in soap opera acting. That
Right,
you got a lot of
right.
disingenuous actors, the journalist kind of thing, that you don't believe 90% of what you're saying, but because people are clicking on it, you stay with it. And you run
that's
it
what
a
it's
little
all
bit
about
further.
the clicks. Yeah, it's all
Right,
about
but you
the
run
clicks.
it a little bit further. Look, for some, it runs you into the millions and millions of dollars. For others, maybe not so much.